You're going to be visiting the waste energy facility. For those who don't know that, any recycle or any refuse that's collected in the city of Grand Rapids has to go to the waste energy facility, whether it's collected by the city or whether it's collected by a private hauler. We have an agreement with Kent County and the surrounding 6 cities. If you don't understand the term of flow control, anything that's collected in these 6 cities is required to go to the waste energy facility. Are any of you familiar with the Butterworth Landfill? The city owned and operated a landfill in the city for many, many, many years. Approximately 20 years ago, that landfill was capped. We still have to maintain it. We still have an expense annually of about $150,000 to maintain that facility. It's along the river. It looks like a flat piece of land now. So we're looking at ways on how we can reuse that piece of property. We've had a variety of different proposals that have come up and been approached to the city, but nothing's been worthwhile, because if you start touching that cap that's on that landfill, it causes a whole lot of other environmental issues. And EPA, it's a Superfund site, so EPA is involved, and everything would have to go through them for approval. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Some of the things that we have coming in the future is yard waste. We're looking at how do we look at furthering information and pulling out of the waste stream. How can we look at an organics collection? How can we do something at the curb? It's something that we have not done in the city, but we do have a curbside yard waste collection now. But how can we improve that? How can we try to minimize even more that's going into our landfills and into the waste energy facility? So stay tuned, that's coming soon. If you have any ideas, I'd be happy to hear them. But we have a lot of interest by our community to look at organics. And how could we mix that with our yard waste? And how could we compost that?
Which started with 5 organizations, the City of Grand Rapids, 3 colleges, including Grand Valley State University, Grand Rapids Community College, which is very important partner with the City of Grand Rapids, Aquinas, and finally we had the Grand Rapids Public Schools. What's very important is that our sustainability plan, which was then revised in 2010 to have specific targets and goals, under those targets and goals, we have targets and goals to decrease the amount of greenhouse gas emissions that the city, as a result of our actions, produce. And one of that action obviously ties directly to the waste minimization and how we measure and track and report those results. I think it's critical to understand that everything we do is really looking at our mitigation efforts to reduce the impact from the city operational impact on the environment in general, but also on the economy and social aspect of the sustainability plan. Our sustainability plan has right now over 200 targets, including a target to be 100% renewable energy by 2020. Also, we have an energy efficiency target. We have a target to increase recycling. And all those targets are championed by our departments like James Hurt's Public Works Department. They're really looking at sustainability plan, which is tied directly to the budget process to meet those targets annually. And we are in the 2nd year of reporting, so our next progress report for the sustainability plan can be found on sustainablegr.com. If you get a chance, I really highly recommend that you visit the website to check out the sustainability plan and the progress report, because what we find very important is that you can talk all you want about sustainability, but if you don't report or you don't measure or track those results, that there's really no sustainability progress.
By and large, the type of trash that we like to burn is household waste, stuff you'd find in your kitchen. That's really what these were designed for. But we are a mass burn facility, so we take everything. Bed springs, whatever's in your trash, it all gets picked up and gets loaded into the boiler. And at the end of the process is where we pull the metals out. I see things in there like, I constantly see wheel rims, and I can tell that maybe there was a tire on there because I'll see the bands. You know how they put stainless steel bands in tires. I'll see those wrapped around the steel rim, and we can burn a tire without a problem. So those are a constant. I don't know why people don't recycle them. Another common iron waste, metal waste that I see are the 20-pound propane cylinders from a gas grill. The boilers can put up with those exploding. They're designed for that, but well, I don't know why people throw them out, but along with cans and everything else, and that's sort of normal. But whenever I look at that metals pile, I'm always seeing those cylinders in there, and I don't really know why, but it's the way it is. We'll benefit from it because we can make some money off it.
In addition to burning and recovering energy at this facility, we do recycle additional metal, ferrous, steel, and iron out of the ash stream. We get roughly 4,000 tons of additional recycling there. But here we're basically a waste treatment facility that recovers energy in the form of electricity to cover a portion of our costs. We don't make money on it. We still have to charge the haulers coming to this facility a disposal fee that's based on weight per ton fee, and it's $45 a ton right now, and it has been for a year, and we're projecting the same price next year.
Essentially, we took all of his trash, okay, and it filled up a truck, 10 tons or so in that truck. And we bring it into the facility, we dump it into the pit here. We have a crane operator who then he'll pick that stuff up because it gets pretty compact in those trash trucks. We bring in about 100 of those a day. He'll pick that stuff up, he'll fluff it up to get some air into it because it's like trying to light a phone book on fire. You can't do it, you got to bust it up. He'll load it into the boiler. It takes about an hour for a bag of trash, for instance, or a piece of trash to go through the boiler. We'll get bottom ash, and we'll get some fly ash as the emissions run up and go through the boiler. We'll collect those as residuals and take those out to the landfill. Of course, the energy is used in a water wall boiler. That is, that boiler is surrounded by tubes, 2-inch tubes filled with water. We'll boil water. We'll send high-pressure steam to a turbine, make electricity, and send it back over to Bill's house, and he can make some more trash for us. We're going to go up to this area called the charging deck, and you'll see there's a back stack of trash, and we'll burn that on weekends. So Saturday we just get maybe a dozen trucks in or so. Sunday no trucks, so they're constantly working that down. And if we have more than what we want in there, we have the ability to send some of that trash, put it into a compactor, and take it right straight to the landfill if we get too much in there. You're going to see these trucks here when we go up top, back up and start dumping into this pit. It's 36 feet deep down there, and I don't know how wide it is. It's a pretty large pit. And there's a guy in a crane pulpit. He'll be picking that up, fluffing it, as I mentioned, and he'll dump it into the boiler. And what he really does, he dribbles it in. If he dumps it right over the top, he might clog up this feed chute. So I know you'll ask, why does half of it go back down? Well, it's because he dumps it right on this little apex here and lets it roll down in there instead of dropping it and possibly clogging up that feed chute with a skid or something like that. The control room operator controls how quickly this hydraulic ram pushes it onto the stoke grate. And again, a boiler boils water. This thing is lined with tubes. We take all the energy out. The emissions, the flue gases, go through the boiler in this fashion, and then out. This is in a boiler building. This is inside. The air pollution control system is outside. The flue gas emissions continue through the air pollution control system and out the stack. There's an ID fan here that's pulling. We have other fans here that push the air through, so we got a kind of a push-pull system. Fly ash is collected up top, drops down in these brown tubes. Most of the ash we get is bottom ash, which is left after we burn, but we do get some fly ash, and then we do get a fair amount of ash and lime. This is a reactor. This is a lime reactor. Because of the large amount of plastics we have in there, plastics have a lot of chlorine in them. And chlorine is very reactive. You go burn it, you liberate the chlorine. Air is full of hydrogen. It grabs a hydrogen molecule or a hydrogen atom, and you got hooks onto the chlorine, you get HCl. We've got a lot of hydrochloric acid gas. And so this reactor is filled with lime. Now, not the kind you put in a Corona, okay? We're talking, calcium hydroxide. And that neutralizes it. So you end up getting calcium chloride, like salt. So a pretty inert substance falls down along with excess lime and ash, and we collect it. Anything brown here you see is residuals or ash. After it moves through the reactor, it goes through a series of 4 bag houses. And they essentially work like a vacuum sweeper bag. It captures all the particulate, but a little bit in reverse. Here is just a small section of one of those. And they do look just like this, but they're, I think, 12 feet tall. And there's over 1,000 of them in those 4 modules. And we have a fiberglass bag that's lined or impregnated with Gore-Tex, and it's up on this cage. The air impacts the outside of the bag, and you end up building a cake up on there. So ash, lime, whatever, the clean air comes through the top and goes out of the stack. Once every 20 minutes or so, one of these modules is taken out of service. We blow air back down through the top, and we shake these. We knock that cake off, and that's what's collected down here and combined with all that other ash. Then that module goes back in service. We take another one out and just keep doing that. Of course, the air moves up and out of the stack. About 80 feet up in the stack, this section's separated here just to make a point that we have continuous emission monitors up there.
The first area we're going to be is called the charging floor. That's the upper area where the crane runs and the waste is dumped into the pit below, and the crane operator will feed the boilers from there. As you can see, the trucks are going to dump directly into the trench at the front. The crane operator will backstack that garbage into the backstack of the trench of the pit, and some of it he'll actually compact out into the compactor chute. We only compact out refuse that we cannot process, because we do receive more than we can take. As I say, that's about 5,000 or 6,000 pounds of garbage in that grapple. The boiler is going to consume probably 4 of those grapples every hour. If everybody would like to follow me down through the boiler house, we'll go to the control room now. Good. This is our control room area. The control room operator is going to monitor the operation of the facility from here, watching the parameters, the pressures and temperatures, and starting and stopping equipment as necessary in order to run the plant. We also have some monitoring and control equipment that comes through what we call our SNCR computer for monitoring and controlling some of the reagents we use for pollution control. This is our continuous emissions monitoring system. This is where we watch everything that's coming out of the stack and make sure that we're operating our facility in accordance with the state and EPA guidelines that have been set forth on our Title V permit. Right behind you is the air pollution control panel. We use that for our bag house and some of the other pumps that we have to start and run here in the facility. Examples of things on the continuous emissions monitoring computer, we're going to be watching our oxygen, sulfur dioxide gases, oxygen gas, carbon monoxide, and we're making sure that we keep all of these constituents within the parameters that are set forth by the EPA in order to say that we are cleanly burning what we have for refuse and that we're not polluting any more than what they've put forth. Obviously, if you have any combustion, any car, your fireplace, anything that's combusting is going to cause some kind of pollution. However, we do have guidelines and we have to maintain within them. We cannot run the facility without doing so. We're just over 15 megawatts we're putting out to the electrical grid, all right, out of the generator, which means you're going to be putting over just about 13 plus into the electrical grid to consumers. A coal-fired power plant, normally they're going to be running 400 to 800 megawatts of electricity. They produce a lot more power, the fuel is a lot more consistent, and it has a lot more BTU value to it. But we don't produce that amount of power, but we're also doing it from something it's garbage. So you're getting something from the garbage. We have about a 90% reduction in volume and about a 75% reduction in weight on what goes to the landfill. Less waste to the landfill means the landfills will last longer and you're less likely to have them want to open one up in your backyard.
There's pretty much some type of technology to sort everything. I've always told people ask, do you have trouble getting rid of your material? We never do, we don't have enough, but the markets go up and down monthly, kind of like the stock market. So, you know, some months are good, some are not, but when we designed this, we did a business pro forma and kind of did low end, so we look at it more so it's a service to the county as an alternative to landfilling in burning. Our number one PET, which is your water bottles basically, is our highest volume. And for the volume we have in this plant, we could only afford one scanner. They go about $250,000. We'd love to have one for each plastic, but it wasn't viable. One thing I don't want to have a misconception. Bottle caps, little small things, and you'll see that come through, normally fall through the system, through the cracks, literally, and do not get recycled. This, there's a limit to the equipment. Little pieces, shredded paper, we have a hard time capturing. Bottle caps, small pieces of paper, they do fall through, and probably 90% of the material going through here gets recyclable. The other 10% is usually a trash that people will throw out.
The first thing they would sort out would be cardboard, so corrugated cardboard, and Dennis told you that we try to get things out that are bulky that are going to kind of clog the system later. So we would also be sorting out trash at this station. This is the pre-sort stations still. So anything that still has food on it, anything that shouldn't be recycled in the first place.
Chip bags and candy bar wrappers, stuff like that. That's trash.
Yeah. We do have another alternative. We don't compost out there, but there is composting available. Does anybody have a home composting bin? Okay. We do actually a little bit of an alternative kind of composting here with our just lunch scraps, and that's vermicomposting. So you may have noticed the little black bin in the hallway. So food scraps like the carrot peels, the banana peels, lettuce scraps, fresh vegetables and fruits that are just scraps, we can actually compost those, and we have worms that help us break that down.
Would you prefer like a metal cap and a glass bottle to be separated like that too?
Yeah.
What about these bottles?
The caps are a different kind of plastic, so the plastic companies ask us to ask you to take the caps off, and the caps can go in the garbage because it falls through. So everything falls over the edge then that hasn't been sorted. This is where the glass falls straight down, and it goes on its own conveyor belt. Oops. So way down the edge over on the right-hand side, the glass is falling down, just gravity. Takes it down onto its own conveyor belt, and it takes it over to the blue and yellow machine over here. We don't have the crusher on it anymore. The video said that we do, but we actually took the crusher off, so it just falls in that bunker to be stored. So any glass in there, the Snapple bottle can go out now. So this is where the paper goes into those disc screens. The paper sort of gets fluffed up, and it stays on the top of the screens, and everything else falls down through them. You can see the conveyor belts are taking off to the left, taking the paper over to the other side of the building where that gets sorted out a little further. So what kind of paper do we have here?
Brown paper.
Brown paper bags, those papers.
And we have this card.
Oh, that one already got sorted out into the paper board.
Stay up, so we gotta go like this.
Yeah, where do you want this to go?
Did we sort everything?
I think we did. This is number 5 and it's all number 6.
All right. And then everything, of course, goes to the baler, and you'll see that if you walk all the way to the end of the walkway.
We sell, what we process here, we sort, and then we sell the product to them. That's how this is self-sustaining. The people you'll see in the front line are what we call pre-sorters. They'll take out cardboard and anything we don't want going through the system.
Okay, this is not a very glamorous site, not very sexy at all, and it is what it is. As you can see, we separate wood chips from firewood, from leaves, and this over here is our fall collection this year. We contract curbside collection in the city of Grand Rapids with a firm called Mr. Compost. The way it works is you buy a bag, that money goes directly to our provider, the guy that provides the services. However many bags we sell, that's how much money he makes, and he has to cover every one of our city streets 5 days a week. Not every one of them, but there's 5 routes that he has to cover all the streets within those routes throughout the week. You can see over here the fire department has a burn facility out here for practice chemical fires and things like that. We do pay $10 a ton to have this material hauled away. Generally speaking, trucks can haul about 40 tons, so it's about 400 bucks a load. We actually sell these bags for $1.50 a bag. Contractor gets $1.67 a bag, so you can do the math. We're losing money on this function. It's not sustainable, and obviously we want to be sustainable. That's why James mentioned this morning that we may be considering taking over yard waste services in the city. There's a number of ways we could do that. We could have an assessment, a property assessment, so that all properties are served. and all properties share. Residents always dump over here. They pay by the load if you're a non-resident. We do allow non-residents to dump here. We do allow people to cut firewood. A lot of folks have fireplaces, and with energy the way it is, a lot of people use it for heat. We're actually sitting on top of an old gypsum mine. There's a number of caverns below us. Gypsum is what they use to make drywall and other products, but I'm not sure what the other products are. I do know they make drywall with it. I've built 3 homes, so toothpaste makes sense.
How much land do you have here?
We have about 140 acres as a city. There's about 640 total.
So then, if after you hauled it out, then what's the purpose of it? What does it turn into? Compost or something?
Yes, sir.
Then he sells it.
Yes, they do compost it into a usable soil. And you can do that in a number of ways. You could sell it pure. You can mix it 50-50 with sand, which creates a very nice topsoil. When I was with Lansing, my previous life, that's what we did. We composted on our own site, and after about 3.5 years, we would mix it, screen it, and mix it 50-50 with sand, and then use it on our projects.
You'll see some things sticking out of the ground. Like over here is one, and up on the top you can see gray wells. Those are our methane gas wells. They range anywhere from 55 feet deep into the landfill to 100 feet deep as they go up. You can see these tracks follow them up, and there's a well. Also down there you'll see manholes. All of our leachate is collected. Leachate's water that goes through garbage and is contaminated. It all collects around the perimeter, and we discharge it to the City of Wyoming's treatment plant. Every year we move about 200,000 cubic meters of dirt to get to where we have to be. That cell where you can see where the flat area is by the water, it's ready for liner. What happens is we come in with a drill rig and we test for 10 feet of clay. We have to demonstrate we have 10 feet of clay under this landfill. The clay is there because it will not allow water to go through it. This material hardens up as hard as concrete. It's got a pozzolanic reaction that goes on that takes it sand. We have excellent clay at this spot. As you can see, it's pretty boring. It just looks like sand. Some states allow you to use this for roadbed. We keep it separate because we don't know if the rules will change. If we mix it with our MSW or municipal solid waste, it may end up becoming severely contaminated, and we don't want that. As you're going out of here on your right side, you'll see another tank. What we've discovered is that the leachate from this area has got a high calcium content in it, and the leachate from the landfill has a high carbonate count to it. So we separate this leachate because when they're put together they make concrete. And our lines are about 20 feet below grade, and we spent a considerable amount of money trying to keep them clean because the concrete would form and we had to dig it out of there. As you can see, we have little jumps on the landfill. What the problem is with that is we slow the water down that comes down off the top of the hill. If not, we get rivulets. This landfill has got a cap on it. It's ready for closure. You're heading towards what we call the working face. We try and keep it as limited as possible. We have to spread 6 inches of dirt on this garbage every night before we go home, and then take it off in the morning. It's on there because of, as you can see, it's doing a good job preventing seagulls from being here. And it also is for the wind and all the other stuff. That piece of equipment weighs approximately 81,000 pounds, and all day long he just goes back and forth over trash. He'll drive around the bus here when we get up a little further. With the landfill, we are concerned with volume. How much airspace do we take up? And it comes in on tons. So we pack garbage in as tight as we possibly can because we're permitted to a certain height all the way around. If you could pull up, we could look at our house trailer. Oh, maybe you'll get to see a house trailer crushed. We get probably 3 or 4 of those in here a week. House trailers, yeah, yes. And what happens to it is we'll take our loader and put it on its side, and these guys take the wheels off of it. And then they'll roll it up there and they just crush it.
The size of the seagulls.
Whoa, that
And the tires fell off.
What you see down on the bottom, it's getting ready for next year. We're going to line that.
That area will have, that's 6 acres, it'll be black. We'll put a, actually we put a double layer of HDPE, high density polyethylene on it. We get crews that come in from Texas, and it'll take them about 4 days to cover that whole thing. In the summertime, it will be 120 degrees on that black surface. It comes in 450-foot rolls, 22 feet wide. We'll have almost 2 miles of welding that has to be done to make it solid. Each one of our cells hold about 375,000 cubic meters of garbage, and it'll last us about 3 years. And we eventually will get up to the top of that hill where you can see the wells sticking out. Those wells, those things sticking out of the ground, they go 110 feet into the ground. We are the only landfill in this county. Ottawa County Farms is in Ottawa County, right across the border, and Byron, the Autumn Hills landfill, which is about 13 miles west of us, they're in, I don't know which county that is, Ottawa County again maybe. So that's a waste management site. I just went through and calculated the credits from July of 2011 to October 2012. The number of tons we prevented from going into the atmosphere is somewhere around 90,000 tons. At one time, we were able to sell those credits for about $7 a piece, and it was very lucrative. But then all at once, the bottom fell out, and now they're only worth about $1 a piece. And what that means is if there's somebody that's polluting the air or throwing in more carbon than they're allowed to, they can come to us and buy carbon credits for them. So if a power plant is discharging 200 tons more than they're allowed to, they can buy 200 tons from us, and that offsets it. Which, is it right? I don't know, but I'm okay with it because we make a lot of money doing it. One of the things about landfill gas, it is extremely wet. It is extremely wet. We knock water off out in the landfill in sumps. It's knocked off when it gets down here, and there's 3 places that goes through here until it gets to a dryer. So you'll go through the first knockout, and on the left side of the compressor it's going to be under a vacuum, and on the right side of the compressor it'll be at 7 pounds per square inch pressure. So they change it over to pressure when they get here. So this 250 horsepower compressor is sucking the landfill gas out and then putting it through the system. And then it just pipes through, it goes through a dryer, and then it goes into the engines. Now, the other way, when we go outside, Scott opened the doors, you'll be able to see the engines. But originally, these engines were called 3516s. There were 16-cylinder engines that were built for diesel locomotives. They were actually engines that you see on locomotives. They converted them to methane to burn for gas on landfills. This is the first knockout. That's the compressor. The gas is cooled off here, goes through another dryer, a coalescing filter. So this is a screen of the whole plant operating, and if you touch one of these, it shows the detail. Right here, we're kicking out about 1.25 megawatts on unit number 1, and unit number 2 is a 1.24 range. All of this goes out, that box, and it's measured. What we give, we don't give it, we sell it to consumers. We get about approximately 7.2 cents per kilowatt. If there's a problem anywhere in the consumer system on this side of town, consumers in Jackson, Michigan can shut this plant off immediately. They have control completely of it. The other hard thing to do is this unit is small, so there's 3 phases coming out of here, a sine wave, and we have to match those exactly. If it doesn't, the engines start looking for where it wants to be. It has only got milliseconds to figure it out, and then it trips and you start over.